Steve Nicol, how do you feel?
Before the game, I would have taken a point. But now that I've seen the game, I've seen how Liverpool played. I'm disappointed that Liverpool didn't get 3 points. I thought they were the best side.
Foster missed a penalty, though, late on.
Well, yeah, he missed a penalty, but Firmino missed 2 sitters as well. So we'll give Costa the penalty, and we'll give Firmino his 2.
Right.
And that means Liverpool wins 3-2.
Okay.
I was happy with the way Liverpool played. I think what we saw was the real Liverpool. But unfortunately, on too many occasions this season against weaker sides, that's not how they've been.
You called this game? You said it was going to be a draw?
Yeah, I mean, I thought anything could happen, but by the same token, a draw ultimately is a result that suits both sides. And obviously you go out there and you try to win, undoubtedly, but I kind of got the sense, even though there was a second Firmino chance late, after that penalty, I got the sense that from Liverpool, they sort of, rather than pushing on, they became a little bit more concerned about, oh, if we lose this, 4 straight defeats at Anfield, things get really, really hairy.
When the dust settles, big picture, this is a bigger point for Chelsea than it's Liverpool, though, isn't it?
Well, look, there's no onus on Chelsea whatsoever to chase any game now. They've earned that gap by that 13-game winning streak. They can go to some of the chasing pack, and they're all chasing. Most of them are not in the title race, but they're chasing for points for the top 4. They do not have to open themselves up. They don't have to try and boss any game. And in many ways, that suits them. It wasn't a great performance from them. But listen, Liverpool, the onus was on them to win this game. Their fight and their struggle is the top 4. That's what their fight's going to be. They had to win it. They didn't quite do enough. Chelsea can go away, grind out points at grounds like this, and that'll be enough to win the title.
Let's talk about some of the incidents, starting off with the opening goal, David Luiz with a free kick. How much of a percentage of the fault for that goal do you put at Simon Mignolet?
Absolutely. He's not watching the ball. He's not watching what's going on. I think naive is the word. If you look at it back, you will see that every other Liverpool player has actually got his eye on the ball. The three in the wall, particularly, they're all covering themselves up. They've got their eye on the ball. But I would have to say, though, the free kick itself is the opposite side where Mignolet would have stood had he been ready, and it's gone in off the post. So I would argue that even if Mignolet was ready and in the right place, he wouldn't have saved it anyway.
You're kind of arguing with yourself.
So you're blaming Mignolet. You're blaming him for not looking. Well,
it's naive. It's naive of Mignolet to be in the position he's in. But I'm just saying, at the same time, had he got in the right spot, I don't think he would have got it anyway. It was such a good free kick.
Had that ball finished a yard inside the post, then the likelihood is, if he'd been alert and alive, that's something he could have gotten to. But I think, even though he was sleeping, I mean, he was in cloud cuckoo land, wasn't he, Mignolet? And that's the kind of thing that's going to infuriate Klopp. Basic errors at the back in key games. But because of the way it was struck, I don't think he was going to get there anyway in 100 years.
No. But then again, he's there. It's not like, you know, he went off to go have an ice cream. He was there setting up his wall. So you were saying...
sell ice creams at Anfield.
But
it's donuts now.
All his teammates, he said, were looking at the ball. Maybe one of them should have been... I mean, presumably, Mignolet was giving instructions. Maybe somebody should have said, hey, Simon, they're lining up to shoot. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a collective thing. Or you step forward, or you can stand in front of it.
The reality is, Gab, that it's his responsibility to be aware and ready for anything. It's called a quick free kick, and as soon as that free kick's given, every single Liverpool player should be on their toes looking out for something like that.
But aren't you coached to say, get somebody to stand over the ball, just so this doesn't happen, especially if you're going to have a goalkeeper who's going to spend an hour setting up his wall? That would have prevented this happening, but you're talking old school. Nobody seems to bother. I can't remember the last time I saw anybody doing that, and it's actually the smart thing to do. And it's not difficult. You know, people say, "Oh, well, the referee will book him," but if you've got any sort of brain, then you get involved in a conversation with the referee while you're standing in front of the ball. It's called professionalism. And there's not enough professionalism in the game now.
Let's get back on track here. The chasing pack got a chance to catch up. Liverpool had a chance to put one over the league leaders at home, and none of them could do that. It's indicative of Liverpool. They play some nice stuff, not so much of late, but again played some nice stuff in the game. But they cannot keep a clean sheet. It's another game where they've not kept a clean sheet. Costa should have scored the penalty, which he didn't, so, you know, could have lost a couple of goals. lost 3 at home to Swansea, lost goals to Wolverhampton at home. The story rolls on and rolls on. Until Klopp fixes that area, they can play as much good football as they want. It is not going to be successful for them.
The penalty they conceded was indicative of the mistakes we've seen from Liverpool this season, Stevie. What were the big issues that you had with it?
Well, it stems from Lovren on the halfway line trying to get in front of Costa to win the ball. He's on the halfway line. He doesn't have to win the ball. All he has to do, and defensively, 99 times out of 100, as long as you're tight and you're goal side, then you're good. Nothing's going to happen. But when you gamble the way Lovren did in this to win the ball, Costa's now running at Matip and ends up getting a penalty.
Why is he
Saka would have done that.
Why is he gambling?
Is this all part of
he's not the greatest.
Is this part of the pressing that we see?
In my opinion, Jurgen Klopp has Liverpool attacking in a great way. It's with pace. They close down as well. But unfortunately, there's 2 halves to the field. And the attacking half of the field, I think Klopp's done a great job. The defensive half of the field, I don't think Klopp has spent enough time with his players as individuals and as a unit, because they get pulled all over the place, and then when it comes down to one-on-one defending, just basic one-on-one, 50% of the time Liverpool come out on the wrong side of it.
David Luiz was man of the match today. This is David Luiz, who we mocked when Chelsea re-signed him from PSG. We're saying, what a waste of money. Yeah, he's come in, he's done brilliantly, scores today. What's happened?
Conte's found... Well, he's not found a system, because 3 at the back's hardly revolutionary, and he played it at Juventus many, many times, played it with Italy to some success as well. But he's found a way to get that back 3 after the debacle at Arsenal, where they got hammered months ago. He found a way to get a back 3 in a shape in the team that would suit almost everybody. Suited the forward line, suited the midfield boys, Kante and Matic, and it also suited Luiz. And I think the key here is that there's no John Terry in that system, and the partners were Gary Cahill, who was having a tough time, but more importantly, I think Azpilicueta. I think Azpilicueta has done a great job for Chelsea and for David Luiz, a very clever player. And Luiz has stuck it up. Everybody, myself included, and probably
everyone. I don't think anyone.
And look, I think even Antonio Conte, the coach, at the start, when he got David Luiz, did not think for 1 minute he was going to get performances out of his team and David Luiz like this. So it's been a bonus for everybody.
David Luiz is there because they couldn't sign other players. That's why he came down the last day of the transfer window. It was David Luiz or Ayman Abdennour on loan, and they said, all right, let's take David Luiz. But I think he's really relished this opportunity. Let's not forget, David Luiz had spells at Paris Saint-Germain where he was actually really, really good. I mean, he's big, he's athletic, he's talented on the balls. He just made bad decisions. But I think by putting him in that system, I think he's asked to make fewer decisions than he was in the past. And Azpilicueta, as Craig said, is a really, really smart player. He has the quickness as well to fill in. Cahill also is a guy who knows his limits, and it works well.
Stevie Nichols joining me right now. We're talking Chelsea. Avram Grant, the former Chelsea manager, says that the club has suffered. They don't look like they're suffering now, at least in the Premier League, but he says they have because they don't have any identity because of the constant revolving door of different players coming in and different managers. Stevie, do you agree with this view?
Well, I do. I think ever since Mourinho first went there, they did have an identity, not just a manager, but right through the spine of the team. You know, Cech, Terry, Lampard, Drogba. But once that era was over, ever since then, let's be honest, it's not just Chelsea who are beginning now to struggle for an identity. Most teams change managers so often, they change players so often, that it's really tough.
It's the world we live in today.
Well, it's tough for teams to get a core of players, and that's, for me, that's what fans identify with, a core group of players that carries a team through a period of time. Nobody seems to stay long enough anymore.
But what about now with Antonio Conte? Avram Grant seems to be a massive fan of him. He says he loves what he's doing now. He loves the fact that he's not stubborn. He's willing to change his ways as he did when he's realized things weren't going his way at the start of the season. But do you see him staying there long term enough so that they can get this identity that's uniquely Chelsea?
I do, yes. I think of all the new managers in the league.
But what's long term nowadays?
Well, I don't know, 6, 7 years maybe. I think of all the managers now. I think of Klopp, but also probably more think of Conte. I mean, you think what he did at Juventus, 6 or 7 seasons there. You talk about a team that had an identity. So I would not be surprised if Conte brings an identity to Chelsea.
All right, well, the way things are going, I'm sure Chelsea would love to keep him on in the long term. Thanks so much, Stevie Nicol. For more on this story, keep it here. Liverpool face Chelsea in quite the epic showdown in the Premier League. Gab Marcotti is joining me for this preview. Gab, a couple of talking points for this one. We know it's as you were for Chelsea. They're cruising along towards this Premier League title, but Liverpool, not the best week last week for them, getting knocked out of 2 cups, and there is the issue of fatigue. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, on the fatigue front, we need to bear in mind, I mean, the numbers show, obviously, Liverpool playing 8 games and Chelsea 5. But if the guys in Liverpool shirts run out at Anfield, and it's not the guys who normally wear the Liverpool shirts at Anfield, is it still Liverpool? I don't mean to make light of this, but I counted, I think, probably 2 starters, playing at the weekend against Wolverhampton. I think that, Firmino and Wijnaldum, frankly, I think that's a bit less of an issue. He knows he had this game coming up. The reason that they played those guys against Wolves was so that they could be prepared and ready for Chelsea. So I don't think it's a fatigue from games. I think there's a bit of a stylistic fatigue because the way Liverpool play is just extremely physically taxing. Then again, you assume that that's offset by the fact that Klopp's been doing this stuff a long time, and crucially, there's no European football. I counted the number of games. By this stage last season, they'd played 37 games. At this stage, they've played 31, including the fake, Liverpool that we see in certain games. But it might not sound like a huge difference, but I think 6 games in 6 months is, or in 4 months, or however long it's been. Those are 6 weeks without a midweek fixture where you really can, go work on things. You can start recuperating players. So I don't know that fatigue is going to be as much of or physical fatigue anyway, is going to be as much of a factor.
All right, well, a couple of names that we want to be seeing again, Firmino, of course, being one, but Sadio Mane is one that everyone is saying that Liverpool has been missing. We're hearing he should at least start on the bench, but you don't see any reason why he shouldn't just start, period.
Well, I was thinking about this, right? So they made this whole song and dance, private jet from Gabon. Now, what I don't get is that he played on Saturday, he went to penalty kicks, heartbreaking. And I can understand the private jet because the private jet, presumably, the private jet either flew him straight back to Merseyside or it flew him someplace with a direct flight to Merseyside, which is about the same. But this is no different than, if they were playing in Turkey or if they were playing in a Champions League game in Moscow. It's not as if, there isn't a massive time difference. It's not as if we're talking an enormous flight. It's not as if he was ever going to go and fly commercially back and spend all of Sunday, in airports. So as I see it, there's no reason I think that he couldn't go out there and maybe even play from the first minute.
All right, can I squeeze a quick prediction out of you before we go?
Ooh. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one.
Ooh, fence-ito.
I'm going to go for the draw simply because I think when Chelsea want to play for the draw, they can. And I think also psychologically from Liverpool's perspective, while obviously they want to win, what you really want to do is not make it, 4 straight defeats at Liverpool, at Anfield. You look at the table, you've got the 2-point buffer over City, at 4 over United. I think at this point, you kind of nurture that.
All right, thanks so much, Gab Marcotti. So he's going for the draw. We'll see exactly how this one pans.